Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for mentioning the Trank Act. I too supported that important legislation, which is one of the tools. And I just want to say, Ms. Ellender, again, we've had, I think, 11 regional meetings in my state, and it's just, the story is the same. The story is the same. And the call is the same. We need more to alert. I'll never forget a high school student in Yakima, Washington, telling me that, having an assembly once a year is not enough. You should be telling high schoolers every day, do not take anything given to you by anyone other than a healthcare provider. Just don't. And I think that we have to amplify on many different fronts. We have to fight this scourge on many different fronts. So again, thank you for your willingness to continue to push on this. And the jurisdiction of this committee is a little more on the transportation network, but your illumination of the problem just shows you what distribution does to destroy families. I want to ask Chief Hall about those distribution networks, because we hear a lot about the border and we want more security and detection at the border, but it's clear that these rings are so elaborate that by attacking the transportation network, we can discover and illuminate and catch these rings. And what have we learned about these networks and transportation system, and why is interdiction, like you've experienced in Spokane or Tucson, why do we need to expand the tools given to law enforcement to help with this?
Thank you, Ranking Member Cantwell, for the question. There are a number of different reasons on why we need to do this, but primarily when I talk to my DEA, DHS partners, it's that we're catching a fraction of the illegal narcotics that are entering the country. Such a small amount. It looks huge on the newspaper, on the front page when we post shots of it for the media, but that's just a fraction of what's actually entering the country, and we're missing so much more, and we know we're missing so much more. The investigations, particularly the collaborative investigations with our federal partners, are where we're the most functional, and we see the most success. Bringing local, state, tribal, and federal partners together just enhances or scales up all of the skill sets and brings in quite frankly, the resources of the federal government that most of us don't have. But collaborating allows us to locate more, to utilize the intelligence base from the federal government on international or national transportation routes, and through, like we said, rail, sea, air, and the interstates, which is where we're seeing most of this. The investment by the cartels, and make no mistake, this is all cartel driven, is such that they will completely disassemble a vehicle, a brand new vehicle, put as much narcotics into every single void inside that vehicle and then assemble it again. They will go through that amount of energy, put the vehicle back together and put it on the road, and it's off on the freeways. The 1.7 million pills that I referenced in my opening statement, that was in 2 vehicles, 2 sedans, 2 nondescript sedans that had to be completely disassembled in order to recover all of those narcotics.
And how did you discover to check those?
Investigations.
Something told you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. This is why I want us to have a more collaborative effort here, because when you look at the technology that we have at the border that is doing some of this detection, but like you said, they're tearing cars apart. And so what do you think a new vapor technology could help us do?
Any tool will help us down this road, whether it's X-ray technology, vapor technology, even going to, like I call old school canine technology. They're all very effective in different ways, and having a layered approach and a cross-sector approach, multifaceted. This is a very complex problem. It requires complex solutions, And having all of those technologies and all of those different approaches is just going to enhance law enforcement's ability to detect and seize these narcotics.
Well, I'm just going to be a little more clear about the challenges of getting a warrant on search and seizure are complex. But when you're at one of our ports or transportation systems and you have a you can basically non-invasive way to detect the movement of fentanyl. That's what I want at every transportation hub, and because that will stop this flow. And I mean, it's not going to stop all of it, but it will give us the tools that you're talking about. And then how can we best help too on the labs and the information? What's the gap there that we're seeing?
I'm sorry, the labs?
Locally, how you have to do the work to try to detect and figure out what you've acquired.
A lot of it is just the sheer number, the backlog. So say we're working with the state lab in order to process the narcotics that we seize, and we have to wait for that processing in order to charge for the most part. So it's that kind of resource that is limited. And I know from my time in Arizona, it was the same issue there. It's just it's a capacity issue. There's so much illegal narcotics coming into the country and so few people doing this work, including lab personnel, law enforcement, even harm reduction agencies that we work with. Going to an earlier point is we inform them everything that you see out on the street, from marijuana to what you think is cocaine to what you think is a prescribed pill, is going to have fentanyl in it. What we're finding out is everything we test has fentanyl in it. So we just tell everybody, know what you're taking, it's fentanyl.